Hello, in this session we're going to be looking at setting up the Intrastat in SAP Business One with particular reference to those who are reporting from Ireland. When we talk about Intrastat, we talk about reporting on the movement of goods between member states of the EU. So the body of our Intrastat configuration happens in Administration, Setup, Financials, Intrastat and Intrastat Configuration. And here we have a good number of tabs, some of which are required for Ireland and some of which aren't. And we'll go through each of those in these coming slides. On this first one, the General tab, the two important pieces of information here is your VAT registered number of the trader in the first field and the VAT declaration ID here in the second field. And the declaration ID needs to have the IE in front of it, and the VAT registered number of trader, the IE should be left out. And there's other bits and pieces we can populate here if we wish. And on the commodities code tab, we enter our commodity codes that we believe we're going to use, and we do need to have them in here first before we go through the process. We give them a name, we can give them validity dates, and we can give them a description. And the supplementary units that we most frequently use will be P/ST, which means the quantity of pieces. On our next tab, this is all we need here, is just to say that our country is Ireland. On the Incoterms tab, these three-letter codes must be accurate. This is what we're expecting to see, is something that looks like this. Your description can be slightly different if you need it to be, but the three-letter codes are required. In Ireland, we don't need anything here on this tab. And in our Nature of Transaction tabs, here the codes for Ireland need to be 1, 2, 3, etc. They must be as displayed in this example. They must be numeric, and I took these ones from revenue.ie. As I say, at the time of writing, they were correct. And again, the Stat Procs tab, the Procedures tab here for statistics, is not required for Ireland. The Transport Mode tab is required. It should be populated as displayed here. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is omitted, 7, 8, 9. And this is correct as per revenue.ie, again at time of writing. And these are the screenshots I took from Revenue for those. The ports of entry is not required to have these set up for Ireland. And the supplementary units, here you can see the P/ST there is second from the bottom, and the other options that are available to us. The system uses these defaults, we don't need to add anything here. Now we're on our Intrastat fields, and again the system has its own defaults and we don't need to do anything here either. This should be configured for the country that you're in. And then the next thing that we need to do is to start looking at setting up the master data for Intrastat. We do some configuration on both item level and for business partners. So the first thing that we will need to do is to highlight any items that are Intrastat relevant, and you can see that that checkbox is in your item master data area under the General tab, and it's here. And after you check that and save your record, you'll be offered an Intrastat settings tab here as well. And in that settings tab, then we get to do things like we can enter our commodity code. Our commodity codes are usually 6, 8, 10-digit numbers. We can add supplementary units and so on. You can see all of the fields that are available to us here. And the more of these fields that we fill in, the less you'll have to populate when you get to the end. So we're saying fill in the commodity code, and we tend to select P/ST for quantity of pieces. We enter 1 in the factor of supplementary unit. We make sure that you use weight in calculation of mass in supplementary unit checkbox is unticked. In the import nature of transaction field, we select 1, which represents sales and purchases. We select the country of origin for the item. This will most likely be the country where the item supplier is based, but it may be somewhere else. And in the purchasing and sale item master data tabs, you will need the weight in kg for the imports and exports as relevant. We're looking at the purchasing tab and the sales tab here, and we can see that the weight has been populated for this item in kg in both tabs as shown here. And then we're on to the business partner master data setup. Similar to the item master data tab, we have on the general tab of the business partner master data an Intrastat relevant checkbox. This reveals the Intrastat settings tab, and within that then we can create some further settings, so we can set the sales and purchases as being our default nature of transactions if we wish. We can set the default Incoterms and the default transport mode. Under the business partners ship to address area as well, which you'll see in the addresses tab, you need to be putting in the country and make sure that the country is flagged as EU in the country list. Federal tax ID will be required as well for this business partner. And the next step then is to move on to take a look at the Intrastat declaration wizard. So the Intrastat declaration wizard then is an 8-step wizard that will step you through the process of creating your Intrastat reports. And we're going to look at these steps here in the coming slides. And here we can see step 1 of 8. And on this particular screen, we choose whether we want to create a brand new declaration or whether we want to load saved declarations. And then we choose the next button. On step 2 of 8, we choose whether the flow of the goods is import or export there. We set our dates according to the period that we want to run them for. Our declaration country is Ireland. Our declaration period is monthly. And we can do things like check the box to say declare credit memos and returns based on the flow of goods, include documents not declared in a previous month if we wish, and we can group displayed data. And here you put in some information for the report. In step 3, we put in the declaration number and then an interchange control reference. And these fields are specific for Ireland, as it says on the top. And here on step 4, we have the generated set of results, which is showing us a list of business partners for whom there are Intrastat relevant transactions to be included in the wizard. For each of these, they have been pre-populated according to how these business partners' master data was set up. But should you wish to change them or should you wish to add more, you can choose the drop-down menus here and create a new entry or change an existing entry. Step 5 then, we get to see the item information, and again this will be looking at what we put into the item master data to pre-populate these, and again we can choose the drop downs here to change those if we need to. When you've that fully populated, we go on to step 6. Step 6 will show us the transactions. We can select the transactions that we want to have included at this point, so at this point we can still omit transactions if we wish. And we can edit the Intrastat detail if we require. And if you try to go ahead without having the mandatory fields populated, it will let you know and you'll have to go back and populate them. We can use the group documents by business partner or by commodity code, depending on how you wish to see them. On step 7, we can save the declaration run or we can generate a declaration file. And our electronic file format will have populated, and the declaration file name, you can press the 3 dots here to change the path if you wish and to update the name. And then our step 8 of 8 is where we get to see what has happened. So it's saying that 3 documents were processed, 3 items were processed, but 0 rows were excluded from the declaration. In the event that there are errors, you can click on the error report and see what the errors are, and it's always a good idea to check that before you complete the process. Thank you very much for joining us for this Intrastat session. I hope it was useful for you, and I hope you will join us for another session soon. Thank you.